Let's get this show on the road. Hey, they call me Ed, sometimes Seth, but mostly just Rocks. And you're listening to Ceterox. Let's talk about anything and everything till we reach the end of our thinking capacity. Good morning, everyone. I don't know where you're listening from, but yeah, it's pretty much morning where I'm from. I just rolled out of bed earlier and then I just set up and got started. Yeah, 'cause that's how we like it around here. Anyway, I was just really looking forward to recording right away because uh, the previous episode, well, you'll be listening to this a week after it's been uploaded, but that was a pretty rough patch for me because, for starters, the topic was quite sensitive, at least for me. And then while I was editing that particular episode, I was writing down the timestamps. And then the thing is, after I scheduled it on the show notes website, apparently it didn't got saved. So I kind of lost everything that I edited on the timestamps. So at this point, I have no idea if I'll bother with it again or if I'm just gonna leave it as it is. But I'm pretty lazy to do it. So I just thought, I'm just gonna record a new episode and just move on. I mean, I don't have very high expectations of myself. Or no, that's kind of inaccurate. I have high expectations of myself, but I've just reached this point where sometimes it's okay not to be perfect as long as you've done something. It's like it's better done and imperfect than not done and perfect. You know what I mean? Anyway, we are on our fourth episode of this podcast, and it's pretty cool to me because, well, I'm making some form of progress from the quality of our output. We've been using different kind of microphones. We've been on earphone modes, and now we're on semi-decent quality with our new double knob microphone. I really like this. This thing has like a reverb setting on it. Like if I do a little bit of this, we're gonna sound like we're in some sort of hollow hallway, and it's kind of creepy. And then I just do like a little knob again, and then we're back here. Well, that's just like a little bit of a long introduction to this episode because I just want to give like a backstory. If you are a regular listener or if you just started listening to this podcast, then you kind of know why there are some inconsistencies with what's going on around here. Oh, by the way, I actually made myself a cup of, it's not iced, but it's chilled Swiss Miss. Swiss Miss is originally like hot chocolate, but like I decided to just make it with cold water. I what I did was I put the powder in the cup, and then I added a bit of hot water to sort of let it dissolve. And then I just added cold water so that it'll be chilled. It's a pretty nice flavor to it. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about my love for drinks maybe in another episode, but as you can notice, I'm always drinking water or some sort of beverage every time I record an episode because I have a horrible relationship with my voice box, which we're gonna save in another episode, and I'm really looking forward to it. But in the meantime, let's get on with today's episode. Now, this episode of Ceterox is going to be a topic Thursdays. No? Wait, what? Oh gosh. I think I kind of skipped a little bit too far ahead of myself. Okay. Our previous episode was a trending Tuesday. What comes after Tuesday, people? It's Wednesday. Okay, that's pretty awkward. I think I'm just gonna keep that edit in because, well, can't be too perfect, right? It's a Welcome Wednesday episode, right? And it's all about taking a break from the comfort zone and having other people on the show. I know we're in a pandemic, but it doesn't mean we can't have virtual guests over, presenting different personalities and what makes them tick. Okay, quick backstory. Before I filmed any of the episodes that you're listening to, I have actually recorded an episode with somebody already. And the thing is, it was a pretty awkward episode because, for starters, we had no idea what we were doing. And that was the time when my mic decided to break. And it was a really awkward conversation because while this guest was really looking forward to recording with me, they sort of just went on a social breakdown where they just weren't able to articulate their thoughts properly because it's some sort of stage fright, but with recording, like the thought of being listened to by an audience. So I didn't really want to force them if they weren't into it, but I guess I wasn't prepared for things like that either. That I had these themes going on with my podcast, but then even I personally find it difficult to approach people like, hey, do you want to record an episode for my podcast with me? I'm sure there will be some people who would be interested to do it, but I don't want to impose. So I just thought, why not just take it easy and let's talk about specific individuals instead. It's like a Welcome Wednesday. Let's just feature a certain person that I really want to talk about in depth. But then again, of course, it's the whole purpose of it is just to sort of highlight how they are relevant to me, or maybe how they are relevant to the world. And yeah, so I'm not going to be interviewing anybody. That's what I'll be doing. I will be focusing on one specific person and their impact towards me, or towards the world around them. Excuse me. Oh man, I just splattered some chocolate drink on my phone. Anyway, I'm just gonna talk about them in detail. Okay, let's just get on with the episode. I met someone who's like me. Discovered? Not really, but I just realized that there's somebody that I haven't really been following thoroughly, but I know their existence for this whole while. And I just got really shocked on how similar this person is with me. Okay, without beating around the bush, it's Emma Chamberlain. Did I say her name correctly? Oh my goodness. Okay, my dogs are barking. That's not cool. Nice. I'm just gonna pause for a while before I lose my mind. Okay, I'm done with the pause. There was a delivery on the door, and so all the dogs just decided to go into one chorus and just started speaking. Okay, Emma Chamberlain. Oh my goodness. Where has she been all my life? I've been a follower of James Charles, and I've known James ever since when he first, when he was, I first saw James Charles on 9gag, but I might decide to create an episode just for James Charles in the future. But anyway, let's get started with Emma Chamberlain. I've been following Emma only recently, during this quarantine. Before, I would watch her videos once in a while whenever she would appear on James' channel. And I've been a fan of the Sister Squad. And I'm kind of sad that they're not really posting any collab videos anymore. But I'm not about to get into that issue. Because whatever, right? Anyway, Emma Chamberlain has her own podcast. I am just so happy. I've been listening to Anything Goes from ever since I don't know where I found Anything Goes, to be honest. I think I was just watching a random video of Emma Chamberlain, and then I just saw that she made her podcast Anything Goes. And at first I wasn't really interested in it because I was listening to a lot of other podcasts, which I mentioned on my trailer about, the type of stuff that I really wanted. But then I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. And oh my goodness, I feel like I see myself in Emma so much. And I think I'm older than Emma Chamberlain. She's like, I think she's like a 2000s kid. Yeah, she's the same age as my brother. She is younger than my brother, but her personality is like, it feels a little bit like I'm looking in the mirror. And I'm just so happy that even before I knew that she had a podcast, I was already like having this, I really want to make a podcast of my own. And I'm just so happy that, like, oh, she has a podcast too. And she talks about stuff, just whatever she wants, hence the name Anything Goes. And I feel like she's a much more liberated version of me because I tend to hold back because I like to stay in my comfort zone. And Emma is really independent. At least that's the way I see her. And like, speaking of podcasts, I mean, I just want to like put it out there because it's been on top of mind, after I talked about James Charles. If James Charles decided to make a podcast, I am going to flip in a good way. Okay. I listed like a bunch of things here from a bunch of Emma episodes that I really want to like just get into in this episode of Welcome Wednesday. And I think she's very fitting to be the first person to be featured on this episode. Wait, I feel like burping and it's such an Emma thing that I want to burp. But I'm not going to do it because I don't think I have that much of a... I'm not that comfortable to do it on record. On record. Anyway, the first thing right off the bat that I put here is that she gives very good relationship advice. Okay, my throat is getting... Yeah, I kind of got a frog. Just kidding. She gives a lot of relationship advice that people around her consider to be really good, even though she considers herself as someone who hasn't been in a relationship. I mean, I'm sure she has like a relationships now or lately, but I relate to this on a really deep level because I am what they call in the Philippines an NBSB, or no boyfriend since birth. But for some reason, I give pretty decent relationship advice to my friends, considering that I've never been in a relationship before. But I think I've been that way because I've been in a lot of bad relationships with people. It's not necessarily like a romantic relationship. It can be about family and friends. And as somebody who really pays attention to behavior and just communication in general, I guess I've gotten the knack of, being able to read people or being able to read the room. So I'm able to just really give people advice on like something realistic that people would do. Like, honestly, no same advice would like apply to different people, because I mean, people have different personalities. So sometimes you'd give advice, but it wouldn't really apply to everyone because, well, the person might be, excuse me, I just wanted to take a sip, because it would depend on their personality. So you could say, I could give advice on like relationships, like, oh, why isn't he replying to me? Is he ignoring me or what? And I would just tell my friends that, maybe he has a life. No, I mean, I'm not saying that, that like maybe they're busy, they're doing something else, they're really preoccupied. And I don't really think you should be chasing somebody to, reply to your messages unless it's like super duper important. Because, normally when you want to start conversations with people, it's because you want to connect with them or have a conversation. But people will eventually make time for you. And if they do forget, just like remind yourself that you gotta live your own life too, and you shouldn't just wait around for this person, because if they want to talk to you, they will come around and reply to you. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just like one of the things. I give a lot of relationship advice, like I guess in terms of how people behave and how people communicate. So I guess that's how some people find it helpful. Yeah. And even though I'm an NBSB, I actually have a lot of crushes, and I feel so happy that Emma like, kind of feels the same. That she gets attracted to a lot of guys or people in general. It does, if you have like a preference. But I'm somebody who has a crush on just about anybody. It doesn't really matter if you're a guy or a girl or somewhere in between or outside of the spectrum. But I just really appreciate people regardless of their preferences or regardless of their orientation, because I see people for their personalities and the way they express themselves. So I guess I'm just someone who's very appreciative of those kind of people. And yeah, oh my goodness, I'm coughing again. Okay. And then the next thing on my list here, I put like private relationships, and that really rings true to me that there's a certain amount of things that you'd probably want to share with the public. And even if your love for like a specific individual is something to be proud of, something you'd want to share with the world. I personally also, like Emma, think it's good to keep those relationships private, especially if it's like romantic ones, or if you're having a partner, getting a significant other. Just because sometimes relationships should be between two people, and if you're gonna get other people into it, I kind of want to wait until I feel it's gonna be for long term or permanent, because I kind of like don't really want people in on my business, because it's like I don't like it. It just feels, I feel so exposed, and that's why usually when I have a crush on like somebody, or if I see myself with somebody, I would normally tell my really close friends, but I wouldn't like publicize it, in the sense like I would tell my family about it, or I would just usually keep it to myself, or just that one or two close friends, until I feel more comfortable about it. Because eventually, if it does fail, or if it doesn't work out, then it's kind of weird that, do I have to announce it to everybody that, hey, I know I announced this the other time, but like, yeah, it's not like that anymore. Which kind of sucks, because I'm a pretty honest person, and I'm an open book. I don't really have anything to hide, but I just prefer to just keep things, on the down low. Okay, my leg is really numb. I need to adjust my chair before I lose my leg. Oh my goodness. Alright. And then the next thing here is like a bunch of list of people. It's like a list of traits in a person that I really... Not me. It's actually from Emma. But the thing is, it resonated with me as well. I guess these are like the major no-nos, or like an instant turn off about certain people. And I really don't think this pertains to just romantic relationships alone. Like, I think relationships in general. And it's about controlling people who are close-minded, inconsiderate, unappreciative, and neglectful. And that really hits home, because I think, in a world like today, especially now, it's important for people to just be able to express themselves, freely. I mean, as long as they're not doing anything wrong. And, like, just to be able to show other people how unique you are. And like, when it comes to relationships, I think it's cool if people weren't super controlling or critical of one another, to just be more open-minded and to allow others to express themselves, to be considerate. to if you don't accept or if you don't agree with somebody, but just have like the decency to allow them to exist, or to just respect them in general. That's something for me, that's like the bare minimum for me, actually. And appreciation, honestly, sometimes people can be too caught up in their own world to show appreciation, but it's something really cool if there are people who really pay attention, and then they just show appreciation for the people around them, even if it's just the small things. Because I'm somebody who doesn't really believe much in grand gestures. I really don't like grand gestures. It's usually the small things for me, that tends to pile up. And I feel like that's like even better. Like if you give me a million small things than just one big thing. Not doesn't have to be a million small things, of course, but you get what I mean. Then people who are neglectful, I guess this one is a bit of a this would be like a thing of the past for me. Like if somebody has neglected me, neglect is such a strong word. Like today, people are just busy living their own lives and their own daily grind, and like, not everyone can afford to just, keep their relationships strong. But I guess if you're in a committed relationship and you're somebody who's neglectful, then I guess that's kind of like, it's kind of like a red flag for me. But yeah. On the other hand, like on the good side, Emma shared about a really good trait that she wants in a person, which is to be conversational. For me, it's more about being communicative. I'm somebody who really talks a lot. I have a podcast for it, for crying out loud. I can like just talk to myself with a list of things I want to talk about and just continuously talk. So yeah, I find it important to be able to talk to just someone without holding back, or just to be able to get a conversation going and not feel like I'm being such a burden to the other person. Because there's just something about, being able to express yourself, your mind over, it's like I really prefer substance over matter. Wait, does that make sense? Like, I just prefer somebody's personality over their looks, or over their, I don't know, over the surface. I just prefer, what's on the deep. And it's always an honor for me whenever somebody confides in me, or if somebody wants to talk to me, or they want to share something with me. I love to listen. Just love to like just sit down there and, I want to hear their thoughts. And if they want me to give them advice, I love to give advice. And if they just want someone to listen and just, to keep quiet with them, I'm just so happy to do that for them. And it's so cool that Emma Chamberlain in her episodes, like, it just feels like I'm looking at myself in an alternate reality, because we're that alike. Like, my goodness, we're so alike. She even has this whole episode about intuition, on how she can feel people, or that she has this feel for the future, in the sense that, she can sense some sort of impending doom or impending like greatness. I don't know how to put into words, but I'm also someone I'm highly in tuned with intuition. It's like I have this sixth sense for the atmosphere. Like, that's why I'm an HSP, which is a highly sensitive person. Like everything, I just have this whole feel for the things around me, and like I don't. My goodness, I'm having difficulty speaking just because I'm not hydrated enough. I'm just gonna take a sip again. Like, this is why I guess I'm overly critical with myself, or like I have difficulty developing friendships with other people. It's because I guess I'm somebody who is in it permanently and like for the long run. And I guess people today can find it a bit overwhelming. It's like just too much. So in a way, I kind of prefer to just keep it to myself, or have like a really small circle of friends. So I'm just like busy doing my own thing because I don't want to like impose on other people's things that they don't want to do. So I really just enjoy. I'm actually just enjoying, right now. I'm not on social media, and unlike Emma, whose job is basically to be on the internet, like regular people like me can just switch off if ever we see the need to. Like, even though I'm filming all these podcasts, if I suddenly just don't feel like uploading, I don't have to upload anything because nobody has any expectations of me. I mean, I'm the only one who's just, I'm the only reason why I'm still going, because I still want to do this. So it's like, there's nothing really holding me back. Okay, next point. She says here, what am I good at? Now, I listened to this episode of hers, and then she just really wants to know what she's good at and stuff. And then she talks about how her favorite subject is like science, but she doesn't really see herself being in that field. And I really relate so much because back in high school, my favorite subject was biology, and I really got myself into the whole science stream of studying physics and chemistry, and even a little bit of economics, just to add some a little real life skills that I can apply. But like, I never really see myself in medicine or any of the big jobs, like taking up taking up law, or what is it, like engineering. I am horrible at math. Let's not get started with how horrible I am at math. Does Emma hate math too? I don't remember, but if she does, and then like, yes, sister, yes. I still don't really know what I'm good at. I mean, I love to write, but I'm still not as sure if I'm good at it. Although that is what I do for a living. I'd probably talk about that before, or maybe I can discuss that in another episode all about writing. But yeah, I have a bunch of things on the career paths I could potentially go to, and not a lot of them are really narrowed down into one specific category. Like, this podcasting is actually one of them, but right now I just want it to be a creative outlet for me, so I'm just like pretty chill with it. I'm not putting myself on too much pressure because this is already a bit out of my comfort zone for me as it is, so I don't really see the need to make it harder on me. Anyway, and then she talks about failure and her college experience, because she says she didn't go to college, I think. But the thing is, I guess I feel like failure in a way as well, because I'm somebody who transferred a lot. But first, some of those reasons at first were because we were moving houses, or we were moving countries. Excuse me, I kind of like feel the need to burp, but then I just kind of stopped it, held it in. And I resonated with this a lot because the first college that I went to, I was actually almost finished with it had I stayed a year, because I was already taking advanced courses to just sort of speed up my degree. But then we had to move back to the Philippines because, well, visa, I guess. And there was just nothing for us there anymore. There were just no opportunities for us in that country. But yeah, it was really sad because I was really doing a great job. It was like, my GPA, or my scores were just like flat out perfect-ish, I guess, if you'd put it that way. And I was really up to getting all the awards, all summa cum laude. I'm not sure how you say that if that's how you say that in English, because I guess that's how they say it in the Philippines. Summa cum laude, magna cum laude, and cum laude. Anyway, I was really up for those. Like, my grades were at that tier. But coming back here in the Philippines, where the educational system is just quite different, and then I saw my grades were just kind of like getting like a reality check. And that while I was a Dean's Lister, which is pretty good too, I didn't feel satisfied with the grades that I was getting, even though I was doing a pretty okay job. If I'm, I don't want to compare, but if you're compared with the others. But then there was just like a strong sense of failure for me because I was doing so well. Had I finished my degree on my first college, I feel like it would have been an awesome experience for me because that was a lot for me. Like I felt like I was like up high on a pedestal. Then I had this opportunity to graduate overseas, which was in America actually. But I might get into that in another time. But anyway, and then I'm like back in the Philippines. I didn't last the year in my first transfer because the courses were so hard in the sense like their standards were extremely high for me. They were extremely high for me. They were taking a toll on my physical and mental health, and the school was just downright expensive. Like I don't want to like trash talk or anything, but I think people who know me personally and they're listening to me talking about this specific school, they would might agree. Like I see the whole point of them having high standards, but also at the same time, do we really want to impose that kind of on the students who are just trying to learn so that they can do well in the real world? Because now that I'm in the real world, none of the things that they put up with such high standards actually matter. Even though I'm in a similar field, like bruh, you didn't have to be so harsh with it. Then so I transferred the second time. And then this was my last transfer. This is where I graduated. And I'm gonna talk about graduation probably in a different episode because it's a very funny story. Anyway, in my last transfer, I decided to be homeschooled. Yeah, I was on college or university. It's the same thing here in the Philippines. It's just bachelor's degree. I decided to be homeschooled and take it online. And that felt like a really big downgrade. Even though I actually loved homeschool. I might talk about that in a different episode, but I love homeschool. But then it felt like a downgrade from this being super straight A student, and then suddenly this mediocre, just trying hard, acer or whatever. And then like now I'm just homeschool. Super chill, just do your own stuff. If you're done with it and whatever, go on vacation. No one's gonna stop you. It just felt like a really big downgrade for me. And then like whenever people ask me, which college do I go to, even though I love the institution, even though I love the school, ish, and I mean, okay, even though I'm not ashamed of it or anything, it just feels so weird because it felt like a downgrade. I went to an overseas international school to a local international school. Doesn't that kind of cancel out itself? Then I just went to like a local private university, and like can I just express myself like saying that it's just weird for me. Like I'm grateful that I have proper education and that I graduated with flying colors, if I might add. It just didn't feel like as much of a big it didn't feel like a big accomplishment compared to if I just finished it in the first place in the first university that I went to, because it's like I felt like everything was done so halfway, so it just sucks. And then like it's really cool how Emma just shared how her college experience, like she didn't have a college experience, so she didn't really know much of it, but then she grew up really fast, so like good for her. Man, I guess enough about education. For some reason, even though Welcome Wednesday focuses on one person, but the thing is, like, I guess I'm just sharing all these stories because at the end of the day, this podcast is categorized as a personal journal, and I just love having things of reference so I can just talk about things. So thank you, Emma. I really appreciate you. And then let's get on to the next topic, which is fashion. Oh my gosh, I love how both Emma and I love fashion. We have such different styles, if I might add. But, oh my goodness, we love thrifting. Like, Emma can afford probably all the really high-end expensive stuff. But she loves thrifting. I love thrifting. Probably over 90% of the things I own in my closet. Like, I'm recording from inside my closet and I'm just looking at things, and everything here is thrifted. And the only reason I stopped thrifting is because of this whole pandemic. So I just end up like shopping online and just hope I can get into some stuff on sale. And it's not as satisfying as getting something for like $1 less. Because if you convert the currencies, thrifting here is really cheap and there's so much variety. It's just really sad though that it's too dangerous to go out and thrift. So I'm just like stuck at home and just ordering everything online. And I might talk about fashion in like a different episode, but I just want to get into thrifting because even though she's not my style icon per se, she's my vibe icon. Like how she loves to wear, how she loves to thrift and like shop for secondhand clothes. I really just love how we share that whole thing. Like girl, like I'm just so glad like you exist. I've never seen somebody who's just so open about thrifting, making hauls, unboxings, and even though in a way it can be a bit unsustainable because in a way it's still consumerism. Purchasing stuff secondhand is a good alternative to just buying fast fashion and like buying expensive stuff that you don't even know if you're going to use for a long time. Because right now I'm looking up some of the things that I bought online which I really think are cute and pretty, but it doesn't feel as satisfying if I got them secondhand or if I got them thrifted. And I don't feel as guilty to discard thrifted items I no longer wear compared to stuff that I had to buy at such an expensive price and then like I'm not gonna like them anymore because you spend a good money on them. But then like I said, I wasn't gonna get too much into fashion right now anyway. And then like speaking of like style and fashion stuff, let's talk about her Instagram feed. I love how she recommends like the use of filters and stuff, but she has reached this point in her feed or her or social media presence that she just takes a photo and just uploads it as it is, maybe make a little bit of adjustments, but she doesn't use like heavy filters just for like the feed. And I'm like that now. I used to have the need for a theme or like for something for the grid or what, but right now it just feels so good that everything is just natural, that you don't have to worry about much. I'm not even active on social media anymore. I just basically archived everything on my profile and just left out like I guess 9 photos, which I think would look nice on my grid or just makes me feel good when I look at it if ever I do go online again. And like, bruh, it's really cool. Okay, it's just pretty awkward because I don't want to get too much, I guess, into social media because I might want to touch on that on a different episode. But it's really cool how we're just the same in terms of like how we choose to do our feed. Okay, can we just like talk about her next? Okay, I'm kind of like skipping over the things that's already on the list, so I kind of like want to segue there naturally, but like I might forget some of the things that I've already written here. But she shares a lot of her high school stories, and while high school isn't like the biggest party of my life, because I might talk about that in a different episodes, I have a lot of stories that I want to share too. And it's really cool how she shared hers on her podcast like so openly, and now she doesn't really mind people knowing about it. But I guess I can relate to it in a lot of ways because it's a lot talking about trying to fit in, or like trying to find yourself, or dealing with embarrassing stories, or just how it's like for like a high school student, getting through that phase. And I'm not going to talk about that in too much detail, but she just, she learned a lot. For somebody who's so young, I can relate with her that, you got your lessons pretty early on in life. So like now that you're a grown up, you feel like you're a grandmom or a granddad in a child's body. That kind of sounds weird, but you know what I mean? It's like you're an old person on the inside, but when people see on the outside, you're like a child. I don't know if that makes any sense, but okay. So like with that said, it's like Emma and I feel okay. I'm just like a feely person here. Like, would have like the same thoughts about stuff, I guess. Like, if I had like a soul sister, or if it's just somebody like, myself in another reality or another person, it'd probably be Emma. So, but the thing is, I think the difference between me and her in our level of awkwardness, because she finds herself awkward, I am super awkward. The thing is, for me at least, it's cute on her. But if I'm the one who's awkward, it's really awkward. It's like ugly kind of awkward. Hey. Like, I'm just like chuckling to myself because, I'm not about to compare myself to Emma Chamberlain. She's a celebrity, for crying out loud. Even though she kind of hates that whole popularity status. That, I mean, she can't really deny that, she has a following. People actually look up to her. So, she's a role model in some sense, I guess. And I guess if we're going to talk about a little bit of difference, is that apart from her high profile, oh my goodness, if she ever listens to this, like, I love you anyway. Yeah, this is just like, this is just like solely opinion based, but yes, you are awesome. Okay, I was actually gonna say something else, but I just kind of lost track, so sorry about that. Anyway, the biggest difference between Emma and I, apart from the apparent things, is that I'm not really a fan of coffee. And like, no hate, because you should totally support her coffee brand. I love the smell of coffee. And while I occasionally drink coffee, I drink the kind of coffee that Emma hates. That, as she talked about it in one of her pet peeves, is where there's like way more milk than coffee. So it's just outright milk than coffee. And I'm that type of person because for some reason, I'm not really a big fan of the taste of coffee. I prefer the taste of tea and chocolate. So that's just me, but really no hate. I appreciate the smell of coffee, how there are so many types of coffee, but I'm just really not a fan of coffee. I can just appreciate it, okay? And actually, if I do drink coffee, it really makes me sleepy. For some reason, that I have the reverse caffeine effect. But if I'm just gonna tell some quick stories about coffee, I've actually tried brewed coffee as soup before. Yeah, that's a thing in the Philippines. It's called like sabaw kape, which literally means soup coffee or coffee soup. And if you try to eat that with meat, like pork chops or fried chicken, it's actually pretty good. Just use the plain brewed coffee. Don't go for all those lattes and stuff. That's pretty weird. Unless you're trying to eat like cereal. Like the thing here in the Philippines called like champorado, but like coffee flavor. Champorado is like porridge, like rice porridge. But instead of like the savory flavor, it's like just the drinks, like hot chocolate and coffee. Yeah, I'm talking about pretty weird food. That kind of sounds pretty cool for a different episode. But yeah, there's just that. I do often drink coffee too. If it's things like latte or cappuccino, but it's usually those coffees with high amounts of milk, because I tried an espresso shot before and it smelled really good, but I think I got traumatized by it. But yeah, I'm not saying that there's no chance for me to like coffee in the future, but right now I'm just really not a fan of coffee. Especially if I had a lot of other choices, I would just choose anything but coffee. Okay, let's talk about watching videos. What? I don't remember why I wrote down watching videos, but I think this has something to do with me watching her vlogs. And I really like her casual, very chill. She doesn't really care much about, the thing is, according to James Charles, she puts a lot of effort into her editing, but that's something I don't do. But I just really like her whole vibe, how she's really chill and, she doesn't care if it's awkward or what, but she's still just, she's just herself on her videos. Or that's what I like to believe, that she's just herself on her videos. And I can see that she has a really close circle of friends. And it's cool because I have a close circle of friends. I think we already talked about this a little bit earlier. And then I feel like on the top of mind, I have like 2 or 3 really close friends that, I can confide in. Without much fear, because I do find myself a close friend to a lot of people, but I I guess it feels pretty much one-sided that they can confide in me, but I don't find myself comfortable enough to confide in them. And there's only a limited number of people that I can do that to. Even though I'm an open and honest person, there's just still some side of me that I'd rather keep private or just keep really intimate between me and somebody I really trust. But speaking of friends, can we just talk about the reunion between Emma and James? I think, but the time that I came up with this list, it was the day that Emma and James uploaded their first collaboration video on how they're back. I'm just like, I was tearing up. I was actually outside that time and I was just making all these weird noises like, oh my gosh. Like, what a coincidence. Like, it's like so scary, happy that I want to talk about Emma, and then suddenly she collabs with James Charles again, and they're just like, oh, they're just working together again. I'm like, just like, thank you. I'm so glad. Okay, just putting it out there. And then I put here, it says, talking about, oh, somebody slammed the door. Talking about self-esteem. I don't have the best self-esteem at all. And then she talks about, finding yourself pretty. There was this episode in her podcast where she talked about this TikTok trend, I guess, of, girls that some people find beautiful. And then she ended up on one of the lists, and how a lot of people commented, like, asking why she was there. And, like, I felt so bad just listening to her talk about it, because, like, bro, come on. Wait, I mean, why do you have to, like, okay, I'm gonna say it, warning, just a mild profanity. Like, why do you have to shit on other people's, opinion? Like, that's kind of wrong. Like, don't do that. Like, everybody has their own thing. Just because you don't agree with it, it doesn't mean you have to go and parade your disagreement with them. Like, skip it. Mind your own business. Go away. And, okay, for the record, Emma is really pretty. Like, whenever I look at her face, she has really, I would say it's distinct for me. She has really pretty shaped eyes. She has really tall nose. And there's just something about the expression on her face that really screams really cool. And she has a very model face for me. So, like, bro, she's pretty. Like, go away. I mean, if you think someone's ugly, maybe you should look in the mirror and take a check on your personality, because you're horrible. You're mean. Anyway, I guess I'm just saying that's because I relate to her a lot, so I kind of know her personality in some aspect. Okay, somebody's doing the vacuum. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but the thing is, if I can hear it on my earphones, chances are y'all can hear it too. But we're almost done with this episode. There's just like a few more points that I really want to get into. And I'm just looking at the recording, and we're 47 minutes in-ish. I'm not sure that's going to be on the output, but I'm horrible at math, so I guess around 13 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway. Okay. She talks a little bit about her mental health. And if you've already listened to my previous episode, I kind of delved in a little bit to my mental health. And I'm somebody who has anxiety and depression, and like I find it a little bit envious that she's able to talk about her mental health so openly on her episodes, and she just talks about her panic attacks and her anxiety with I mean, I'm not really sure what it's like for her, but as a listener, it just feels so cool that she's able to articulate herself and share her experiences with other people. But for me, I'm still kind of like warming up to that whole idea, because I'm kind of like anxious also myself about what I want to happen. Okay, I'm not making any sense, but like I'm still kind of warming up to that idea of just being out there. I guess that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to be able to express myself without the fear of being judged, or if people do decide to judge me, I just want to grow some thick skin and not care as much, unless it's it's objective, or objective or really important that I care about it. The other than that, I really don't. So I won't. Okay. There's a lot of like, oh, there's actually just a few things left here, but I think I just want to like fit that in. Okay, the vacuum is getting louder, but at this point, I'm too lazy to bother with like anything else. So I'm just gonna like start talking about these few last things. And she talks about ghosting, people ghosting her. Like, bro, why would you ghost Emma, bro? I mean, why would you ghost people in general? You see, that's like the problem with like a lot of people is that they don't want to like communicate themselves clearly, and then if they think it's too much, they just take the ghostly route and just disappear and go AWOL. So I told people that I prefer if you were just right, like straight up honest, and like just forward with what you're thinking and you're feeling. If you don't want to like be friends anymore, if you don't want to communicate with me, if you want to cut all ties, I'd rather know than to just be ghosted, because it's like I can't stand it. I can't stand like the curiosity, because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what page you're on, so maybe I can adjust myself into a new page, or I can just get out of your book. I think somebody was knocking on the door, but I told them not to disturb me for a while because I want to record in peace, because I'm really lazy to edit. I just end up cutting. No, I don't want to cut anything. I just want to like slap this on the editor and just upload it as it is. Add music, add visuals, and just get on with my life. But just sighs. Anyway, and then like I guess she talks about her like ghosting experience, and I guess I just related to it as well, because a lot of the things that she's been experiencing has happened to me too. I guess it's just a little bit shocking that she experiences all that thing at such a young age, and being on the internet, she's able to share all of that. It's pretty shocking, because there's such a big generational gap now between the adults then and then our generation now, and then maybe the new generation of kids. It's kind of weird to call her a kid. She's already like 19. She's gonna be 20 next year, so she's still at that like she's in that age of kind of adult, kind of not phase. But then in an adult's eyes, she's like pretty much still young, even though I'm not that old though. I'm just a few years older than her. But you see my point, right? And like I don't wanna, I really dislike to compare, but I just like to use her narratives to just share my own stories as well, which is why I think that's what I'm gonna do for Welcome Wednesday, because I'm still not that comfortable to approach other people for interviews. As much as I want to pick at people's brains, and get some sort of feedback, or just get some sort of interaction. So you never really know what to expect, but I guess that's still a little bit out of my comfort zone, because I'm somebody who uses lists for talking points, and it's pretty weird because it's the way for me to keep organized or just stay on track with what I want to happen in life. So I just okay, I think I'm just stalling. So this is just one of the things. And then she puts here, people pleaser. Like, bruh, I related this on a deep level. I dislike conflict. I hate confrontation. I just hate issues in general. Like, as much as possible, I don't want beef with anybody. And also because it's good for my mental health. Because the thing is, when talking about people pleasing and talking about people who dislike you, there are a specific number of people who are on my mind right now, which I feel like I have crossed them the wrong way. And even though it's not such a big deal, it crosses my mind a lot. And it kind of affects my mood, because excuse me. I have like two internal burps there, one after the other. But the thing is, I don't want beef with anybody. I hate it. But the thing is, I need to let go and accept the fact that there will be people who just wouldn't like me. And it's a bit difficult, like, but the thing is, I need to overcome that Like, just go on living your own life. You're not stepping on anybody's toes. You're not committing acts of, bad. Acts of bad. And, like, just, you need to come into peace. Like, that's what I'm currently working on. Just being at peace with the chaos. It kind of sucks, but thing is, this is reality, this is real life, and that's all there is to it. So yes, Emma girl, I got you, I get you. Like, we're sometimes it's a bit hard to just express yourself on how you want to, because I still kind of take other people's opinions into account, because other people's feedback matter to me, because it can't just be all about myself, right? So it's a bit difficult for me to just, talk about what I want to, because you see, like in the previous episode, we're talking about some really controversial things. We're talking about politics, we're talking about religion, we're talking about like what's going on around the world. But then there's just still this part of me who just like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. Making other people uncomfortable makes me uncomfortable. So like, maybe we shouldn't talk about it. But like, that's life, Anyway, I think I'm just gonna like get close to like the ending of this episode, because we're kind of like on the last point. I'm not sure what I meant by this, but I said here one sitting, but like I think this has something to do with Emma and I. We kind of talk about stuff for a really long time in one sitting, I guess. Or maybe it's talking about me watching all her videos or listening to her podcasts in one sitting. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I have horrible like short-term memory, which is why I really need lists in my life. But I'm just gonna remove this list anyway. I'm sort of already done with this episode, but I guess I just find it interesting, because I guess it's in my personality to do things in one sitting. Like, if I don't get it done like this time, it's gonna be so hard for me to do it again another time. I guess that comes with being a procrastinator, and I'm not sure if Emma's a procrastinator, but I am a crazy procrastinator. I find it so hard to get into doing one thing. So if I'm already far into it, I just really need to finish it all off and just get it going, because once I stop, getting back into it is just so hard to do. Like, it feels like the laziest thing ever. So I guess that kind of relates to with starting this whole podcast. If it weren't for the fact that I just sat down and just recorded the trailer, I would never get anything done, because it feels I'm such a perfectionist that I procrastinate on things. So I like I just said earlier, I just rather things done and imperfect than not done but perfect. Like, bruh, what's the use of being perfect if you can't, if you don't really have any output? Yikes. I think, let's just get into our outro. I just reached my cue already. I've reached the end of my thinking capacity. Yeah. So let's just get into our outro. I'm not active on social media and more of a lurker myself. But hey, I got an Instagram page. If you want to stay connected or not, it's up to you really. I'll start using the hashtag #etceterox on all my posts for all that SEO and low-key marketing jazz. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel for official uploads, or stay tuned on my Anchor FM for the distributed versions on mainstream platforms of your choice. For those who can't deal with hour-long episodes, you can check out the time cards and skip to the part you like, or subscribe to our second channel to be updated for highlights. Lastly, you can check out our blogger page, where I try my best to transcribe everything I just said, or share show notes and maybe create other content I won't necessarily discuss in the podcast. I'm really hoping I'm able to save the show notes for this episode and at least get some sort of energy to re-listen to the previous episode, because at this point I'm just really lazy to redo the show notes for that one. But we'll see how that goes. Let me know your thoughts and takeaways. In the meantime, till next time. Bye!